Today we are creating this iridescent crystal text in Affinity using the font Firlest. I've linked the font in the YouTube description, so go download that now and I will meet you in Affinity. I have a 1280 by 720 pixel file open in Affinity Pixel. Start by grabbing your ellipse tool and let's create a circle. Set the stroke to none and click on the fill of the circle. We're going to change this to a gradient. Right away, insert 4 new points on your gradient by selecting the left point and then clicking insert 4 times. I have my color palette right on the workspace for you to copy, so let's reassign the colors of the points. Click on the far left point, then click on the fill, and let's reassign it the color B91A8B. Grab your second point and assign it the same color, B91A8B. Adjust the position of this point to 22%. Select your third point, assign it the color 515CFB, and set the position to 41%. Your fourth point will be 43F8D8, and its position will be 59%. Fifth point will be C0DCF6, and set the position to 74%. And color the last point B91A8B. Alright, once you have your gradient set up, grab your gradient tool and we are just going to change the angle so the gradient is going up and down instead of left to right, like so. Once you've done that, let's go to our layers panel. I'm going to delete the colors I have here. If you need to go back and look at those, you can rewind the video. But right now, all we have in our layers panel is the circle. And at the bottom of our layers panel, go ahead and hit the effects icon. Check bevel and emboss, set the bevel type to inner, unlink radius and depth, set the radius to 160, set the depth to 66.4, leave soften at 0. For profile, select this fourth option. Leave azimuthal at 135 and elevation at 45, and leave the highlight and shadow mode as default. Now check inner shadow. Set the blend mode to subtract, set the opacity to 42, radius to 8, offset to 0, intensity to 100, set the color to the hex number 34C2C0, and set the angle to 180, and hit close. Now right click on your circle and select Create Style. Now you can go to Window, Vector, and Styles to pull up your Styles window. And the style we just created was added right here as style 8, and so we can right click on it and rename it. And I'm going to call it Iridescent Style. All right, grab your artistic type tool and with your font set to Firlest, I'm going to type in the words Shine Bright. This font is technically an all caps font, but if you do hold down Shift to use a capital letter, you will get a slightly bigger decorated letter like the B and the T here. So I'm breaking the phrase shine bright into 3 text boxes with the S in its own box so that we can resize and rearrange these elements. I'm going to create the letters H-I-N-E to 398.5. I'm resizing the word bright to 341.7 and the letter S to 434.4. Go ahead and kern your text as needed. Kerning is adjusting the space between your characters like so. You can do this by holding Alt or Option on your keyboard and toggling your left and right arrows. All right, so I'm going to line up my B and my H to the left, and I'm going to align my S and H at the top. Right now I'm just eyeballing it, but you can select both letters and then use the align options here to get a perfect alignment. Once our text is aligned, I'm going to click and drag to select all 3 text boxes, go under styles and select the style iridescent that we just created. With the text selected, go to the bottom of your layers panel and click this folder icon to group your text. Let's name this group Base Effect, and we can delete this circle. Now go to Pixel, New Fill Layer, and drag the fill layer under the base effect. Let's recolor it. I'm going to assign it 170015, which is a really dark purple. You're going to be tempted to make this completely black. You don't want to do that because that will drown out the halftone texture that we will be adding at the end of the tutorial. All right, now select your base effect and use the key command, Command or Control J to duplicate it. Rename the copy you just made Glow. Open up your glow layer, select the effects icon on the left side of each layer, and click and drag it to the trash bin at the bottom of the layers panel to delete it. Be careful not to delete the actual layer, and you should start to see the text with just the gradient and no beveling effects. Close up your layer, and with the entire group selected, click the effects icon at the bottom of the layers panel, and let's add a Gaussian blur to the entire group. And I'm going to set the blur to 1 pixel. Now use the key command, Command J, to duplicate this layer 5 times. Now holding Shift, select all of your groups titled Glow and put them in their own group. Title this parent folder Glowing Effect. So when you open this folder, you should have 6 groups within one group. Now starting with the second group up, click on Effects and increase the Gaussian blur from 1 pixel to 5 pixels. Click on the next one up and increase it to 10 pixels. The next one up will be 25 pixels, the next one up 50 pixels, and the very top one, 100 pixels. This technique comes from my Affinity glowing text tutorial, which I will link in the description if you want a more in-depth glowing tutorial. All right, let's close up this group, and then let's set the blend mode to screen. At the bottom of your layers panel, click on this circle icon to add an adjustment layer, and select Curves. Right away, plot 6 points on this line, and I will give you the X and Y values to assign to each point. So starting with the first point you plotted, give it the X value 0.135 and the Y value 0.703. Click the second point. The X value is 0.232 and the Y value is 0.915. Select the third point. X value is 0.438 and the Y value is 0.074. For point number 4, the X value is 0.636 and the Y value is 0.82. For point number 5, the X value is 0.758 and the Y value is 0.306. And for this final point, the X value is 0.874 and the Y value is 0.815. All right, you can close out of this. Rename this adjustment Curves number 1 because we're going to have 2 curve layers, and click and drag it so that it sits between your base effect and your glowing effect. Be careful not to drop it into any group. All right, let's add another curves layer. Immediately plot 3 points, and I will again give you the X and Y values. So select that first point that you plotted, give it the X value of 0.239 and the Y value of 0.823. Select your second point. X value is 0.517 and the Y value is 0.29. Select your third point and the X value is 0.73 and the Y value is 0.783. And you can close out of this. You can already start to see your effect coming to fruition. I'm going to rename this Curves 2. Make sure Curves 2 sits above Curves 1 and select your base effect and hit Command or Control J to duplicate that effect. We're going to bring our base effect all the way up to the top of the layers panel. Make sure you don't actually put it in a group and double click and rename it Color Burn. Open up the group and delete all of these effects icons by clicking them and dragging them to the garbage can at the bottom of the layers panel, being careful not to accidentally delete an entire layer. All right, close up the group and set the blend mode to, you guessed it, Color Burn. Now we're going to bring the opacity down to at least 25%, but 15, 16% is also a good medium. All right, it's time to add in our halftone background to give this text just a little more razzle-dazzle. So let's go to File, Place, select the halftone image that I provided for you in the YouTube description and open it up. And you can click and drag to cover the entire artboard. Oh, and quick tip, if you hit the backslash key on your keyboard, you can view or hide anything outside of your artboard. All right, let's drag our halftone layer so that it sits right below our base effect. And you can see that the halftone layer as well as the fill layer is getting affected by all of our adjustments, making it look kind of strange and metallic. So what we're gonna do is select our base effect, holding down Shift, then select our color burn to select all of our text effect. And at the bottom of the layers panel, let's put them in their own group. All right, now we're starting to see our halftone. Now all you have to do is select your halftone layer and set the blend mode to multiply. And voila, you've created this magical, spellbinding, iridescent text effect. Thank you so much for watching. I create weekly graphic design tutorials using Affinity, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and more. So if you enjoy this type of content, hit subscribe and check out another one of my videos. I will see you next week.